Hey y'all, happy Sunday and welcome to this week's live Q&A session. This is the portion of the show where we allow YouTube to send out notifications that we're going live. If you're watching this live Q&A on replay, please scrub ahead until this graphic disappears and the actual show begins. If you're watching live and you have any comments or questions, please go ahead and put them in the live chat. But for now, grab a beverage, sit back, and relax while the countdown timer does its thing. Then we'll get started. Hey y'all, happy Sunday. Hope everything is going well for you. I'm out here in Chaos Central, doing a bunch of stuff, getting a lot of things done, just behind the scenes, I've got a couple of projects to take care of. I posted a picture for my sister-in-law over on Facebook that got a lot more attention than I thought it would get. But basically, I'm making a chaos pattern ingrain cutting board, uh, and I'm it's the main field is done. Now I'm going to surround it with maple and then surround that with walnut to make the whole thing big, so the right size. And it's coming along very, very well. I see my buddy John is in the chat over at Wood If I Could. He is currently live over on his channel. Thanks for dropping by and saying howdy, John. We experimented with it earlier this year, and I've set it up again for this live stream as soon as this is over with. Um, you'll be, if you stick around, you'll be automatically forwarded over to John's live stream where he's in the process of making a wedding sign for some, I can't remember if it's friends or family members. I believe it's friends. And it's very highly detailed. It's a mountain scene with a Jeep Wrangler on it and a campfire over on another side and some real nice lettering and what have you. And it's all being done on scroll saw. So if you're into that kind of thing, there's a couple of CNC people over there. If you're into that kind of thing, by all means, come on over and check it out. I'll be joining him live when I'm finished here, if he'll have me. So, and I'll be back here working on this cutting board, getting some panels glued up and what have you. I would also like to give a shout out to Steve Nealon over at Harneal Media, the sponsor of Mark Lindsay CNC.com. If you're looking to establish or increase your web presence, there's absolutely no better way to do it than with a website. And Steve over at Harneal Media is the only website provider I will ever recommend. He is dynamite at what he does, and very competitively priced. And whether you're going to be, taking care of everything under the hood yourself or having him do it, he'll do as much or as little as you're looking for. So harnealmedia.com. There's a link in every video on my channel down in the description. And I'm proud to call him a good friend, and thank you for everything you do, Steve. So let's see here. We've got a lot of questions, so I better dig in. In fact, we've got one person who has a 7-part question that's going to be interesting, but I'll get into that in just a minute. I want to address this from Jim Brown. When you're importing a tool that is metric, will VCarve automatically change it to material? The short answer is no. The short answer is no. What I do is I go ahead and I put it in, I stay in the Imperial section of my tool database. Let me bring up the tool database here. And well, first I better share my screen. And I'll show you how I do it, okay? And we can take your comment down so you guys can see everything. Go into Toolpaths, go into Tool Database. I stay in the Imperial Tool section. But if we look down here, I have a 15-degree V-bit that is 6 millimeter. And it is entered as metric. Everything is entered in metric except the feed rate and plunge rate. That's entered in Imperial because that's what my machine uses. Okay. The software knows. The software makes the conversion. So it's not necessary for you to do any conversions here at all. So if I want to make a pattern that uses this metric bit, and I do use this metric bit on patterns that are imperial. Everything else is imperial about it except for this particular bit. It works just perfectly. I have others as well. I have a, let's go down here. I have a metric tapered ball nose bit. This one I did not convert to this one I did not save as metric. I saved it as imperial. I did the conversion. The only thing metric about it is the tip radius. Actually, that's not a 1/4 millimeter diameter. That's a 1/4 millimeter radius. But the entire bit diameter is a 1/4 of an inch, and it's 1/4 of an inch shank. And I got the side angle from it, and it automatically converted that tip radius from 1/4 of a millimeter to just under 10 thousandths of an inch. It automatically did that for me by using the formula for the tapered ball nose. It will not do this for, say, an end mill. It won't do it for it may or may not do it for a standard ball nose. But it doesn't really matter. You can leave that bit as metric. You can put it in any category that you'd like. Again, I stay in the Imperial Tools category simply because that's what I use the most of, and I keep my metric tools closed. I just go ahead and enter them in here and use them. I just make sure to put in the title, like this V-bit, I put in the title that it's 6 millimeter and not 1/4 inch. That's how I do it. Now, that's probably not the proper way to do it, and this may be driving some of you folks out there crazy. It's perfectly acceptable and it's perfectly fine to expand your metric tools and put it there. I just choose not to because I very rarely use metric tools. And the same is true if you work in metric and you use that as your default unit of measure and you buy an imperial tool. You can certainly put them wherever you want to. You can organize them in any way you'd like. But enter the geometry and the cutting parameters, or enter the geometry anyway, in your that the bit is. But the software doesn't care. It will make the conversion as it's calculating the tool path. It knows how to do that, and it's got built-in calculators all over the place. So no, I didn't make any changes, I don't think. So the point is the software doesn't care. Now, if you're doing this just for your own peace of mind, so you understand what's going on, certainly you can go in and you can do all the conversions. Google has built-in calculators as well, and it will do all the conversions for you, and you can just copy the result and paste it into the tool database. Personally, I don't go that far. I know, for instance, when I use that 6 millimeter bit, I'm going to have to get out my 6 millimeter collet so I can use it. It's just, I don't concern myself with that. I just make sure that when I go to use that bit, that everything is correct. and the software will do the rest. So I hope that answers that. Let's see here. Vortex 8 had several questions. One was, and I'm not picking on anybody or making fun of anybody here, but this is the case. I got to find it because I didn't mark it to save it. He says, I'm curious to know what you take notes on. Obviously, yeah, it's going to be done with paper and pencil. I have notebooks all over the place. I have pieces of paper that get coffee spilled on them all over the place. I write notes on everything that I can. If it's something that I need to remember constantly, I don't know if you can see it from here, the way the camera angles go. But for example, I run two different touch plates for my Z axis. And I got out my label printer and I put a big banner on the top of the monitor saying to check the touch plate thickness. If it's something like that, then, you know, I've threatened to V-carve a few things, but for the most part, I just write them down in notebooks and I keep those notebooks handy. And another dirty little secret is that's one of the reasons why I make videos, is because half the time I can't remember what I had for dinner last night. I certainly can't remember how I did something one time 9 months ago. So having that video reference, and I do reference them constantly. Come back, how did I do that? Oh yeah, that's how I did that. And then I can drive on. You'll find the note-taking method that works best for you, and just use it. But that's the important part. It's one thing to take notes. It's one thing to write it down. It's another thing entirely to use those notes. I was in Army aviation. I was an aircraft mechanic, and we were taught from the very beginning, you don't do anything without a manual or a checklist, because people's memories are faulty. And about the time you think you know every step, you're going to miss one, or you're going to forget one, or you're going to discover that there was a change posted to that manual or that checklist that you don't know about. So I am fully 100% supported by checklists. I have checklists for just about every step, and it's nothing more than I wrote down with a pencil and paper the steps I need to take to do something, so I don't mess it up. And I keep them handy and I use them. That's the important part, is to use them. So Machined in Wood says, I use software called The Brain. It's priceless. Yeah, that's true, until it isn't. Until it fails that one time. Example, yesterday, I was over here surfacing some material that was too wide to go through my planer. I forgot one little step that befuddled me for a good 3 minutes trying to track it down. And that was when I designed the tool path in Aspire. I forgot to change from my XY datum position in the center down to the bottom left. And so when I loaded the G code and tried to get it going, it was telling me that the X limit would trigger a soft limit. It wouldn't move. It wouldn't do anything. All because I forgot that one step. Set my XY datum position to the lower left, because that's the way it was supposed to be run. So that safety there kept me from wondering why the heck this wasn't carving right. It was only carving one corner. And, so nobody can remember everything. Nobody that you'd want to talk to anyway. So by writing all this stuff down and then using it, you avoid problems like that. So Russell Faraday says, take notes. 9 months later, you will remember a lot of it while you're searching for the notes. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Where'd I put that? I've lost some things. I don't care if I ever get it back. I just want to know where it went because that's an excellent hiding place. So, yeah, take and use your notes. Let's see here. I think I have some bad news for Mario. Mario Montoya says, been trying some epoxy fun with my regular V-carving projects. Been painting them black, then filling with clear epoxy. You can't tell that it's not black epoxy. Interesting. I'm intrigued by that. Switched brands on a new project. Ooh, danger, Will Robinson. First pour was pigmented black, cured just fine. Second pour was clear. I ended up with a slightly sticky surface after 24 hours. Been a few days and no improvement. I did a 1-to-1 mix, but then later found out that is 1-to-1 by volume, not weight. Ratio was to be 85% hardener to resin by weight. Ouch. I did 1-to-1 by weight. So what's the fix, if any, besides gumming up my bit? Rob Sandstrom, I saw out in the chat, who is far more experienced with epoxy than I am. So he may correct me on this, but I think the only fix is going to be gumming up your bit. I think once it's poured, that's it. Once it's mixed and starting to cure, that's it. It it also depends on the priority of this project. You may be able to wait 30 days and it'll be firm enough to where you can carve it out without gumming up your bit. But I think once it's in there, okay, wait a minute here now. Rob Sandstrom says no correction needed. Oh, okay. So I'm correct. Okay. All right. Yeah. You're just going to have to carve it out and try it again. Hopefully, you didn't get too far in the process to where it can't be mounted back on the table. But yeah, that's one of those. Okay, Rob says waiting doesn't work. Okay. Yeah, I didn't think it would, but yeah, that's ouch. Put that down to lesson learned, I guess. I mean, uh, Rob is one of those people who explain things very, very well. I haven't got a link to his YouTube channel in the description, but I will put one as soon as we're done. If you're into epoxy at all, I highly, highly recommend checking out his channel and subscribing. He has a lot of good information over there. Some of the videos are long, not near as long as mine, thank the Lord, because I know, I ramble. Some of them are not so long. Some of them are very short, but it's a lot of good information. And if there's a fix to be made, if he hasn't done it, it's on his list to do. So he's the guy I go to. He's my epoxy guru. He doesn't know it, but he is. I've watched his videos. I'm probably responsible for about a third of the views he's got over there. So, Steve, this is what I mean when I talk about Steve. There's a link to Rob's YouTube channel. And do yourself a favor if you're into epoxy work at all. get over there and subscribe. Pull up a beverage or three and binge watch. I'm serious. Binge watching. Let's see. If it's in a larger area, can he scoop it out to save bit time? It depends on how soft it is. I mean, you know, and it depends on what the project is. I mean, if you've already got 20 hours into it and it's not a high priced item, I mean, it's kind of, if this is early stages, it may be better off to cut your losses and just remake it. If you've already got a ton of work into it, then yeah, you got to fix it, but that's your call to make. I don't know what it is, how big it is, and how much you have invested both in materials and labor and what have you. So, all right, let's see here. So, yeah, sorry to be the bearer of bad tidings, but yeah, sometimes there's not a lot you can do about it. Okay, Vortex 8 has a series of questions here, and this is the first one, and probably the easiest one to answer right off the top is, when adjusting feeds and speeds, how do you know which one to adjust? There are a lot of schools of thought on that. Personally, the easiest to adjust for me, and this is for my controller, is the feed rate. And that's because I can adjust my feed rate on the fly because I'm using Mach 4. Mach 3 is the same. There is a slight difference. In Mach 3, you can adjust the feed rate 10% at a time. And in Mach 4, it's 25% at a time. But in both of them, I can get in and click in that DRO and enter my own feed rate. And the minute I hit the enter key, it makes that adjustment. So if I'm running at 100 inches per minute and I want to go up to 120, I can just type in 120, hit enter, and it'll speed up to 120 inches per minute. That's how I do it, simply because it's the easiest. When it comes to speeding up or slowing down the RPM of your router / spindle, it depends on your setup. Sometimes you can't change it. You can't increase or decrease while the machine is in motion. I believe I can, but I tend to go for the feed rate first simply because it's easiest. And yes, Mach 3 does spindle speed on the fly as well, and so does Mach 4. But I tend to go to the feed rate because I'm used to doing that. My first two CNC routers, I used a Porter cable 2.25 horsepower router, and it was not on a PWM. It was not on any kind of it was not controlled by software. I adjusted the RPM on the physical router itself, turned it on, then hit cycle start. So there was no way to adjust that router RPM while it was in operation. A spindle, yes, you can adjust the operation. You can adjust the RPM on the fly, but I got used to adjusting my feed rate to make any changes needed. And I did most of that by ear. As you get a little bit of experience behind you, you start to be able to identify when a bit sounds like it's struggling. Maybe the wood is denser than you thought and you need to back off on that feed rate a bit. You can hear it. You can also see if it looks like the bit is trying to plow through the material and not cut it. Also, are you creating dust or are you creating chips? If you're creating dust, you need to either slow down your RPMs or increase your feed rate or both. And again, I take notes and I write down what I ended up cutting this project at. and that helps me fine tune my feeds and speeds in the tool database. So I've had the Avid CNC for about a year. So having a spindle is still fairly new to me. I'm a lot more comfortable with it now than I was when I first got it. But having a spindle that is controlled by the software is such a nice luxury. I don't think I would ever want to go back. So yeah, it kind of does depend on the machine and program. Some you can't adjust on the fly, some you can. But and this comes back into note taking. As it's cutting, listen and watch it for a little bit, and because you can tell if that bit's struggling, you need to either slow down the feed rate or increase the spindle RPMs. If it's going real slow and you're getting dust, you need to either speed up the feed rate or slow down the RPM or both. So, AL Peleg says, still waiting to see how your chips look. Me too. I use dust collection. I know that's a cop out. I'll do it without. I'll cut onto something without dust collection and show you what I'm getting. It's not something that I remember to do. So chips. All right. Boom. Just wrote it down. There. So I'll try to remember, AL. And Russell also brings in a good one here. What the chips are light, and is the cutter hot after it's finished cutting? Yeah, after you're finished cutting and you go to take out that bit, is it hot? You should be able to hold it comfortably in your hand. It should maybe a little bit warmer than when you first took it out of the box or the holder, however you store your bits. But it should be nice and comfortable to hold in your hand. If it's hot, you either need to increase your feed rate or slow down your RPM. Heat will kill a bit faster than anything else. And it may cut just fine, but not for very long. Uh, and that's the reason for making chips instead of dust. Chips will eject out of the cut and take that heat with it. There's nothing you can do to prevent friction. But if you're cutting chips and they're getting ejected out of that cut, it's going to take the heat with it. Which is why acrylic is kind of tricky when you're first getting into it, because it's real easy to either have that RPM too high or your feed rate too low. And instead of that chip ejecting and taking the heat with it, it just melts and either sticks to the edges of your cut or your bit or both, in which case you end up with an absolute mess. Trust me, I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt. So it's one of those kind of things that you have to kind of experiment. So put your hand in the fresh chips. That's where the heat should be. Yeah, absolutely. And this is especially important when you get into machining metal, because you know you can wear out a bit faster than you can say boo. I mean, 1/4 of the way through your project and then it's done. So, but the short answer to the long question is sometimes you have to adjust both. It just comes with getting experience on the machine and getting experience with the cuts. And listen and watch. And if something doesn't look right, it probably isn't. So I tend to adjust feed rates on the fly because I'm used to doing that. I'm not used to adjusting spindle RPMs on the fly. So I hope that answered that. Okay. This is a long, involved question. So please bear with me. on this. And nice to see Michael Mazalik here. You might be able to help me with this, Michael, if you are so inclined, because it's a 3D question. Says, I'm having a problem with the type box trying to change the size of the 3D model in your two-sided bowl tutorial video. For some reason, when I go to change the size of the model, whatever I type is erased, and the program automatically puts in whatever was there at the start. Okay, where are you attempting to do this? First of all, let me bring this back in here. And you said you were following the bowl, so let's do that. Domes and dishes, and let's do a 45-degree. And I'll hold down Shift, bring it out. That looks good to me. Go into the Modeling tab. And I'm going to leave this as merge additive. Just we'll call this the bottom of the dish, the bottom of the bowl. Right here in the modeling tab, set selected object size. That's where you change the size. If you're trying to do it somewhere else, that is not going to work. You set in the object size here. Let's say I want 8.5. So I'll change that to 8.5. Then click apply, and there is my resize finished. If that's where you're trying to change the size, there may be another issue. So go into the modeling tab, select the model, and you can tell it's selected. Let me click off to the side here. That's unselected. Select the model, or you can click on it down here in the component tree and go into set selected object size. Okay. Let me continue with the question here. So the number or whatever would be in the box. I try to change it and it reverts back to whatever was there first. I don't know if there is a setting that is messed up or if something is wrong with the keyboard. Maybe it's a software bug. Okay, I forgot to mention that I'm in the component properties when this happens. Okay. And the problem happens with the shape height box. Okay, I see what you're talking about. I've not tried the other boxes to see if I have some problem elsewhere. Okay, I see what you're getting at. All right. Well, let me get back into here. Then I've got it selected. I'll go into the properties, and you're talking about the shape height here. Well, for instance, mine is at 1.23. Let's go with a 0.7 shape height. And so looking at the 3D view, we've got that. Now, is this where you're having your issue? Okay, you meant the object height. Yes, is this where you're talking about you're having your issue? Is in the shape height and base height. And it's going to take a couple seconds for the chat to catch up. Michael, I don't know, is there any such thing as them being locked? For instance, can you get into some other properties in another menu item and lock it so that it can't be changed? I'm not aware of it off the top of my head. So let's see here. It should be, I don't know if this is what you were talking about there, Vortex 8, here in the properties. It should be, you should be able to change it right here. Michael says, no, there's no way to lock it. Okay. Okay. Other than baking the component. Okay, now that's an interesting question. If the component is baked, but you can still get in and change, for instance, a component's height, a shape height after it's baked. It'll just change the shape height of everything that you have baked into that particular component. Am I right there or am I wrong? I'm still not, well, I'm comfortable doing 3D, but I'm still not good at it. I'm okay with working with components. It's making the components that I'm still getting there. Okay, correct. All right. Thank you very much, Michael. I appreciate that. So Vortex 8, that's basically what we're looking at here. You should be able to get in and change your shape height right here in the properties. If it's not allowing you to do that, you might want to send a email to Vectric support. Okay, here we go. It says yes, but so waiting on the rest of the clarification. And no worries, I've got time. You know, don't panic type, because that's when I typo like crazy. Okay, it would not let me go to the 0.7. Okay, well, there are a couple of things here. What combine mode are you using with this? I'm trying to remember back to that two-sided dish, and I'm going to be making one of those. I don't know how soon it is. I'm going to be making a two-sided dish using those videos that you're talking about. I'm going to be taking a bunch of this end grain scrap and my smaller scrap pieces. And I've got a big 14-inch diameter silicone mold. I'm going to be pouring epoxy and throwing all kinds of scrap in there to, number one, use the scrap. Number two, make a nice, interesting looking charger serving plate. And I'll be getting into it further from that. We'll see how the project turns out. But okay, it would not let you go to the 0.7. Look at your combined modes. You should have a well, actually, for this, it should be just additive, because there's nothing else to be merged here. On the other side, it would be subtract. So I don't know why it wouldn't let you change the shape height. You might want to send a email to Vectric support. Now, are you using the trial version of the software? What version of the software are you using? Include all of that in your message to Vectric. Okay, he says it's not allowing me to change it. Okay, there's something goofy going on back there then. If it's not allowing you to change the shape height, especially of something within the clip art, then there's something going on under the hood. Let's see here. Try the model scale height option, modeling tab, 4th row, 5th icon. Okay, let's get out of here. I forget that there's all of this. Scale Z height of the model. All right. And current height top is 0.7. Your minimum Z is 0. Maximum Z is 0.7. We can set an exact height here. Okay. So let's set the new height at 1.0 and apply. Close. And now I'll go OK, and we'll go into properties. Well, select the component first. And there is my shape height of 1.0. Yeah, there you go. Okay, he says it seems to take 1 or 2 seconds to revert back. Oh, so it'll let you actually enter the information, but then it reverts back. Well, let's see. That's an odd one. That is odd. I did follow your directions in the video, but I'm unsure if I did something wrong, and if I did something wrong, I couldn't tell you what it would be. Okay, let me throw this out here. This is one of those situations, and I'm with you, okay? Because I've done the same thing, following a video. But there comes a point where you're spending more time trying to track down and fix a problem than if you just close that file and start over. I've got several files on my other computer inside where I did that, and I still couldn't tell you what I did wrong. I still couldn't tell you if I did anything wrong. And I don't know what, I still to this day don't know what was going on. For instance, if you look at a VCarve file, even if you're using clip art, the file may be, depending upon what it is, it may be 4, 5 megabytes. But there are a couple of files that I made in version 8.5 and in version 9.0 that were 50 or 60 megabytes in size on the hard drive. And there's a problem with those files. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it's doing. So it's just, but if I recreate the project, just close that and start over and recreate it, it's 4, maybe 5 megs. You know. Is the layer locked? Ooh, Doug Fushi. I don't think that there is a way to lock or unlock the layer. Is there, Michael? Properties move to another level. Okay, no, I don't think so. Now, up here in the layers, you can lock a layer. So you might check that. Let's see. Let's see. I'll lock it. Okay, so that layer is locked. Layer 1. So let me go into properties. I'll select the component and let's change it back to 0.7. See, I love this kind of thing. Okay, it has applied it. I close it. And we'll wait a few seconds and see if it does revert back. Selected. Let's go in here to properties. No, it's at 0.7. So locking the layer doesn't seem to be doing it. Yeah, that was an interesting interesting take, and thank you for suggesting that. It doesn't seem to be an issue. Let me take a gander at it. Yeah, it's still 0.7, so it let me change the height, and it hasn't reverted back. No, I don't go into locking layers in the video, but I also know my luck. If I can make a mistake and lock something, I will. So, let's see here. Dwayne Ruthick says, Mark, I agree. Yesterday I did just that on a bolt head. Recreating was faster than trying to figure it out, and it worked the second time. It may be a case of that. I mean, now, having said all of this, I do know that Windows just put out a big time update. And so it's possible something's goofing around in the background there. I don't think so. I've not had any issues, but I mean, I'm sure I don't have the exact same apps and programs in my computer that you have. And it may be something running in the background that is interfering. I really don't know. But this is one of those mystifying things. It's just strange. We're still at the 0.7. Nothing has changed. Now, Michael had a good idea here where he said you may need to hit the apply button. There is no apply button here. And if we go into, where's it at? There it is. Scale the Z height. There is an apply button. For instance, if I want to set my exact height back to 1.0, there's an apply button there. Then close that, then click OK. And now let me select it, go into the properties, and we're at 1.0. So, yeah, that's I restarted the program and it still would not let me change the numbers in a box. Let me make a suggestion, and that suggestion would be to close that file, start over, and see if you have an issue. Because none of this is making sense. It shouldn't be locking. Steve is asking, is it a limit in VCarve Pro versus Aspire? No, when it comes to doing something like this, the properties, they're identical in VCarve and Aspire. So. Okay, Michael is saying there are a few people, including myself, that has had a problem with the Windows update, including some people at Vectric having problem with the Windows update. Aha. Okay, that kind of reinforces what's going on here. My initial thought: send a email to Vectric and be detailed. You can include the file if you like, but chances are they won't need it. Then again, it doesn't hurt to go ahead and attach it to the email. But go to Vectric's website and send them an email to support explaining what the situation is and be as detailed as you can, because it may be a problem with the update. Now, I'm not having that issue, but then again, as I said, my computer setup is not the same as yours. And that's just simply because I know you have problems programs that I don't have, and I know I have programs that you don't have. And Lord knows antivirus software and everything else running in the background, it's, let's see. Windows Update is proof that the word improved doesn't mean what it used to. Well, now it's an update. It's not an improvement. So there is some truth in advertising there. They never said it was an improvement. They just said it was an update. That's kind of like updating your car to square wheels. Okay, let's see. I can change the settings in the setting menu for the revert back settings. I added a few zeros to the megabytes it was able to use, and I'm wondering if that may be the problem. I guess it's possible. I mean, anything is possible, but that was a settings changed for the software universally, I I don't know that that would I don't know that that would have anything to do with it. I would could, and now we're getting into the nuts and bolts, and that's way above my pay grade. I don't get into programming and stuff at all. I mean, I scared myself to death when I was uh, getting into post processors. So I would send Vectric support an email because this may be something they need to patch, and they can't patch it if they don't know there's a problem. So go ahead and attach the file and send it to them and let them look at it. Maybe it's something simple in the settings. Maybe it's something that they don't even realize. And this is one of those cases of they can't fix it if they don't know it's broken. Speaking of post processors, this is probably something that a lot of you have never heard about, and I'm probably opening up a can of worms in something that I should keep my mouth shut about. But I don't think that I am going to be the one to hear about it. One of my channel members, right there, Mr. Brooks Martin, just did a 2-part video series on a subject that I have gotten a couple of emails about, but hadn't had time to explore yet. And that is tape splitting, it's called. And it reverts back to, the name goes back to the old days when they actually used perforated tape for CNC work. And it was done pneumatically. As air blew through one hole, it sent a command in one direction. As it blew through another hole, it went into another direction. Well, concept is tape splitting is literally splitting that tape into smaller pieces and run one tape at a time. Tape splitting today, digitally speaking, is a way of taking long, tremendous G-code files and splitting them into more manageable chunks. So if you've ever gotten a G-code file with an estimate of about 24 hours of 24 hours machine time, Brooks has investigated and is showing in 2 videos on his channels how to split up that G code into more manageable pieces. It's not talked about much at all. And in fact, I was completely unaware that it was a thing until about February of this year. Well, Brooks has made a series of 2 videos. I've linked his channel in the description of this video right here. It's right there, right next to Michael's YouTube channel, by the way. Get over, subscribe to Brooks, and check out those 2 videos. He gets into how to split that big file into more manageable chunks. Very informative, very useful. And when I get something like that, I will definitely be putting it into use. So Martin Pearson says, yes, it's not talked about because most people have no idea about it, Brooks. Again, I'd never even heard of tape splitting until about February of this year. So I've not done a video on it. I may or may not ever do a video on it. I will certainly be referring folks to Brooks Martin's channel. And in particular, real easy to find are the last 2 videos on his channel. He's got a lot of other cool stuff over there, by the way. But if you are sick and tired of looking at 54-hour machine time runs going, what the devil am I doing wrong? You may not be doing anything wrong. 3D takes time. But it'd be great to be able to break that up into smaller segments so that you could run, 6 hours here and then come back tomorrow and run the next 6 hours, So get over to Brooks's channel and check those out. It's really going to come in handy. And I'm with Brooks and Michael and Martin. This needs to be talked about more. I had never heard of it. I don't get it. I don't understand why it's not talked about. Now, it has something to do, it may have something to do with the fact that you need to edit, modify, or create a new post processor. And a lot of people are not interested in that. Brandon says the link doesn't work. Which link? The one that Steve posted up above here in the chat, or the one in my in the description? I will check the one in the description as soon as I'm done here, and if it doesn't work, I'll fix it. So give me about 5-6 minutes after we're done live here. Brooks says in Vectric's help post-processor editing guide, it has typos in the example. So yes, fair warning. I did see that in the video. So, but okay, Brandon, I will fix that as soon as we're done live here. I'll go in and I'll fix that. Yeah, I know the mistake. I know the error. In fact, let me see if I can. No, I don't want to do that while it's live. I'll mess something up. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and call that good. We've been on for a little bit over an hour. Oops, hit the wrong button. Again, it's the same as we did last time. I have this live stream set to where when this live stream ends, if you stick around, you will be automatically be directed over to my friend John's live stream, working on that wedding sign that is going to be killer. And the Jeep Wrangler, he's already got almost done. So you'll automatically be directed over there. If you're not interested, well, that's fine as well. I'll be going over there as soon as I'm done putting these links in and fixing Brooks Martin's link down in the description. I'll be heading over there. I'm going to get back to work on this cutting board and get some more stuff done. So come on over and hoot and holler with us. Channel members, check the community tab here on my YouTube channel for the link to tomorrow's members only live stream. If you remember, we're going to be talking about rest machining and the fluting toolpath. If you don't know what the heck I'm talking about, check that join button right down there by the subscribe button. Click that join button. You're not joining anything yet. A panel will pop up, a video will play to tell you all about channel membership. Then if you want to join from there, there are buttons there for it. So next week, I'm hoping, well, I don't know what I'm going to do next week. I've got to get a new piece of material for the tiling toolpath. I may carve it green. If so, you'll see it. If I don't carve it green, you won't. So that's it. That's all I can think of to talk about. Oh, I've got to paint the lean-to, so it may be a lean-to video. We'll see. Anyway, thank you guys for joining. Thank you very much for the shares, the thumbs up, the likes, all of that. You guys keep it fun and keep questions like today coming, because I like to dig in and try to break stuff. But Vortex 8, send them a line, attach the file, but I would also just start over. Just start over. It may be a glitch that won't happen in the next one. All right. See you next week. Thank you very much. And y'all take care. It's Sunday. I mean, Hope you got some shop time, but chill for the rest of the day. Everybody needs a day off. Y'all take care. Thank you.